The asphalt roads that thousands of cars travel on today were once dusty paths crossed by horse-drawn carriages. When someone came up with the idea of using an engine instead of a horse for power, we went from this, to this, and then to this. The firsts in this long history are the subject of this video. So let's begin. The first car in the world looked a bit like a bicycle. And this is Carl Benz, the inventor of that car. Let's take a trip back in time. It's 1885, and Benz was tired of horse-drawn carriages.
No horse.
Then he thought, why not build something that looks like a carriage, but instead of a horse, it's powered by a single-cylinder gasoline engine. That's how the first car was created. The very first test drive in history was actually done by the person sitting next to him, his wife. In 1888, Bertha Benz set out on a 106-kilometer journey without permission, taking their children from Mannheim to Pforzheim to promote the vehicle. Along the way, she refueled at pharmacies and ended up showcasing the car to an entire city. And only 11 years later, the first speeding ticket was issued. In Western cultures, speed limits date back to before the use of motor vehicles. In 1652, the New Amsterdam American colony enacted a law stating, "No wagon or sleigh shall be driven at a gallop," and a speeding ticket issued to a car, first speeding ticket in history. The year was 1896. A driver named Walter Arnold was caught driving at 13 kilometers per hour in an area where the speed limit was only 3 kilometers per hour. Yes, the speed limit was really just 3 kilometers an hour back then. Straight up, just 3. To catch him, a police officer chased Arnold on a bicycle, and that's how the first speeding ticket was issued in history. Considering that the average person runs at about 6 kilometers per hour, Arnold wasn't actually going very fast.
For those who truly want to go fast, Germany stands out, perhaps as the only example, with its highways that have no speed limits. The first highway in history was built in Germany in 1921, and yes, it had no speed limit. Precisely for that reason, it wasn't open to regular traffic and was used for racing. Did someone say racing?
Well then, the first car race in history. Year 1894. The route was between Paris and Rouen, covering exactly 126 kilometers. This race was organized to test the durability of cars at that time. The average speed was around 25 kilometers per hour, while the maximum speed reached was 45 kilometers per hour. The fastest vehicles arrived at the destination in about 6 hours. Considering there were no asphalt roads or proper racetracks back then, this was actually quite a remarkable time.
Now let's set speed aside and take a look at what is probably the most tragicomic event in automobile history.
Imagine a man driving his car when he suddenly loses his balance for a moment and falls out. Just seconds later, he is run over and killed by the very same car he had been driving. This was the first fatal traffic accident in history. The incident took place in 1896 in the United States. The unfortunate man's name was James William Lambert. Honestly, the fact that someone fell out of the car they were driving only to be killed by that same car is a little tragic yet ironic, don't you think?
Since we've mentioned a man falling out of his car, let's talk about that thing designed to prevent people from being thrown out of their cars.
Seatbelt. The first seatbelt was invented in 1959 by Volvo engineer Nils Bohlin as the 3-point seatbelt. Volvo made the patent for the seatbelt available to other companies free of charge. Thank you, Volvo. The history of cars is so long that we've always talked about the past. So let's talk a bit about new technologies as well. For example, electric cars. Here's a question for you. Electric cars are really a new technology? Of course not. So the first electric car in history, in the 1830s, yes, the history of electric cars goes back that far, it was invented by the Scottish inventor Robert Anderson. However, a practical and usable version was produced in the 1880s by Thomas Parker in England. Parker advocated electric transportation to prevent the already polluted and smoky city air from worsening, resulting in the first electric car. Interestingly, electric cars quickly started to proliferate and gain popularity. In fact, in the early 1900s, 40% of cars in the United States were electric. But for some reason, gasoline cars eventually became dominant. Or perhaps someone wanted it that way, and electric cars only began to regain attention in the 2000s.
And that's it. For more content like this, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And also share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching.
You're still here. Really? The video's over. You can go now. Why are you still watching? Well, since you made it this far, go ahead and write in the comments, "Rest in peace, James William Lumbert." You remember who he is, right? That guy who fell out of his own car. Anyway, don't forget to check out my other videos. Yes? No? All right then. See ya.